Hey guys, it's me, Thick Bosolo, and I just wanted to say thank you for the 800 subscribers. Hopefully, it keeps on going bigger. Anyway, since we're all quarantined and if you get tired of movies and TV shows, I guess there's things you can read, and I guess I'll give you a recommendation based on my bookshelf. Okay, so let's go over here. Let's see, what would be a good book? Good one here is one from John Garcia, and it's called Isla Malikwe Frankenstein. Broken Spears. I have like so many toys here. I have maybe the latest version I got, and it's a pretty good book for beginners. I think if you don't know where to go or look for books here, the 15 Poets of the Aztec World, which is a pretty good one. Though Miguel Portilla kind of messed it up, I think it's still good. Aztec Herbal is, from the 1500s, 16th century. It was based on the Latin from these two novels. Well, one Nahuatl wrote it in Nahuatl and give the Latin text, the other Nahuatl to write the text. And sadly, the Nahuatl texts no longer exist. And then you have Holy Wednesday, which is a pretty interesting book because everyone thought it was it's based on a play from the 16th century, which they thought was a direct translation, but it wasn't until the 1980s that they find out that no, the Nahuatl, the Nahuatl that wrote it in Nahuatl did his own interpretation of it. So it's a story about Jesus, but he's Aztec because there's a lot of cultural stuff like that. A book that I liked in high school, Idols Behind Altars, shows you history, and it tries to have it has a pretty cool cover. I've seen this one in person, which is very beautiful. It's about the history plus the modern artists, and I think this is the book that everyone started getting to Digger Rivera and Frida, because the writer was a friend of them. So that's a good thing about it. My very rare book right here. I wish they had this book. They have a crappy translation called They Call Me King Tiger. Mi lucha por la tierra. Less than 100 of these exist. And before the Helena died, I got him to autograph it. Sadly he was old, so you can see his handwriting went all crazy. I have pictures of him signing and everything. But yeah, there's less than 100 of these copies. I'm surprised I even have a copy of this. I have this beat up book of We Are Chicano, which has a different writings, different writers. Pretty interesting. An early book from a long time ago. And then here's one I loved as a kid, Among the Maya. So it's about, this white guy, but he goes into Mayan communities and he tries to understand the calendar. Like it's a pretty interesting book. Like Mayan words, try to use the right calendar dates, finding out that maybe someone gave him the wrong one. It's very interesting. And he meets different Mayan from there. And it's before the whole Zapatista thing. So if you read the book, it kind of he predicts something like that was going to happen. So it's pretty cool. Another rare book that I loved as a kid is Azteca one. It's a comic book. Pretty good. I recommend people checking it at least out once from the library, which is where I read it. And of course I have Entre años fregados pero cristianos, which is a pretty good book. Pretty much gives a history of Mexico, culturally, to the Spanish, conversions. You know, it's a very political book, and I like it for that. And then, of course, if it's possible, I would say I love and explore the codices. I had this one for almost 20 years, and you could tell when I had it, went crazy, looked at pictures. Every time I look in there, I always see something new, and I'm like, well, I've seen this book a dozen times, and I don't know how I can miss that, you know. Then you have Codex Natal, which is about mystic history, a good portion of it. I'm saying there's no writing, but you can always look at the pictures. Then, of course, Chicano, which is a pretty good book. If you guys can get that one. Another good one is this one from Michael Cole, Mexico. This is an old edition. I think they're, which edition? This is 4th edition, so I think they're like almost 10th by now. But I would say it's pretty much, I was like, Mexico history, and we'd always look in this book for the fun and learn stuff. And then here's a good, interesting book. At least I like this since high school. The Aztecs by Brian McFagan. That book, I would say, was the book that got me looking at direct sources. I'm like, he talks about this source and that source, and I'm curious about that source. And I guess it's the one that got me more curious about things. You know, where I'm like, I need to find out what the history of stuff. Maybe I'll see stuff that isn't there. And it's very interesting to see that. Here's another book we can like. Faking Ancient Mesoamerica. So it talks about stuff that people think are real in artifacts, but actually real. So sometimes I'll show you stuff like this fake jadestone artifact, some fake yolks, because they're the easiest ones to make, because you just make a U shape and you can put whatever you want. Some fake masks that people thought were real. It's a pretty good book, I would say. The tourist stuff that most people see. And it always gets funny when I have to bring up that some stuff is fake artifacts, and they're like, no, my friend found it and he gave it to us. And I'm like, dude, it has Spanish writing on the edge. I don't think it was, you know, like, even though you point out all those things, they were like in denial, which is always funny. Some fake bodies, the fake wrestler. This one might be controversial because Mexico said it was real, and the book says it's not. But the case in the book is pretty good because it says you can find ancient paper. It's pretty common to find. I'm like, dude, you can find ancient amate paper. Why has no one told me that? You know, and you know, you can find, well, it says they'll find like blank 1,000-year-old paper, and you know, it has a good case on it, like that someone drew it based on old materials, so that's why you get the analysis wrong because of all that stuff. Then of course, Arqueología Mexicana. You can see I've been collecting it forever. And I got some of the Florentine Codex. I think I have some up on my desk. Have hardcovers. One I got, this one was brand new, and a lot of friends chipped in and they paid over $100 for this one, which I was surprised. I'm like, oh no, I don't get it. And then I think when they bought that one, that's when the soft covers came in, and then, you know, it was cheaper than, and they were in color. These are like black and white. This one I think I got under $20, you know, so I was like, oh my god, that was awesome. These I mostly got, I would say 40 and below. Maybe the cheapest one I got was maybe $20. So I always think it's interesting to have Anderson Dibble or Dibble and Anderson, and I wonder, like, did one work more on the other? Is it just a different edition? But I can't find any other notes on that, so that's kind of weird. Common one, I think, is the National Geographic Mysteries of the Maya, but it has a lot of old stuff together, but they put it together, which is pretty cool. Like, if you've seen all the National Geographic stuff, it's all in this book. Let's see. What I do like is when they have the Hero Twins drawings, which I think was part of this series. Let's see, I'm trying to find it. Oh, here it is. Most of the Hero Twin drawings he did. And the creation story, which I was surprised when they, remember it was a magazine, I tried to find it. It was on the DNA National Geographic, I think it was. And I think it had a lizard in the front. And then they had this, and they had the Hero Twin stuff in small print on the front cover. And you're like, dude, that should have been like the biggest thing. But I guess no one was interested in that. And tons of underworld stuff, artifacts. So it's very interesting. Like everything you've seen in all the National Geographics for 20 years are all in this one book, which is pretty cool. And let's not forget, oh yeah, this is a Rada Moody ball. The Rada Moody's use this. You can see the doll right there. But behind this is a Seminole doll from Florida that I got a long time ago. God. One book. It's pretty cool. It's Drink Cultura. I would say it's one of those books you got as a young kid. Explains the origins of danza, certain Spanglish words. Could be good. I would say there's some information nowadays. I guess also, if you're a conservative guy, there's this book, The Education of Richard Rodriguez. I would say I got it a long time. I think I got it for $1 or $2, but I have it in here in my collection because I guess you gotta have a different perspective. Like, I don't agree with the guy, but I would say gotta have counter ideas. Oh, and of course, why am I so dumb? Totally forgot the tacho, our way of talking. So it talks about how New Mexican Spanish is not Castilian Spanish, as a lot of people like to say, but it is actually from Nahuatl. You can see there's all the words. It's a short book, but I think if you want guidance, that's one of those good ones. Anyway, I guess I hope you guys enjoyed my collection here. Hopefully you guys don't get bored. And I guess take care, guys. Okay? Be safe. Bye.